Good day to you, Guyana, and welcome to another edition of Facing the Nation. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you so very much for joining us. Last week I wasn't here live in the flesh, but you did have a rebroadcast of Facing the Nation because there's so much going on, and I had a cancellation. I know the week before I had promised to have the minister within the Ministry of Communities, that's the minister responsible for the housing department, the Honorable Valarie Adams. Unfortunately, she could not have been here because she was on another government assignment, but I did promise you that we're going to push that program, that interview with her, that conversation with her further into the next month, which is July. Sometime in July, you definitely get a chance to speak with the minister. And for those of you who did send me those questions for her last week, we really appreciate it, and I can promise you those questions for Minister Patterson are stored, and when she comes here, we will definitely ask her the questions for you, and because I know housing is really a big sector and it's very important to you. Now today I have a young lady that I've been promising you now for about a month, and I know people began to say, okay, you've been promising her, we're waiting to see her. Well, I have her today, and of course this is another Valarie, minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, the Honorable Valarie Garrido-Lowe. It is her first time on Facing the Nation. It is my pleasure to welcome her. Of course, she also was on in the previous weeks that I did promise she would have been on assignment dealing with other government business, but she has accepted the invitation to come on today, and we are so very happy to have her. Minister Garrido-Lowe, welcome to Facing the Nation.
Thank you so much, Malika, for inviting me.
Okay.
And I'm happy to be here.
Great. It's a pleasure having you. All right. The minister and I are going to be talking about not only her ministry, but all the things that she's been involved in thus far to ensure that that good life for all Guyanese is provided, especially as it relates to the sector and the area in which she works. But before I get into my conversation with her, just to remind you, our program is usually split in two. The second half of the program will be focusing on public servants to an extent. I think it was on the 22nd of July, Guyana joined the rest of the world in observing United Nations International Public Service Day. The public servant, the permanent secretary, for the Department of Public Service, he gave a feature address at an event held by the Guyana Public Service Union. So you'll get a clip of all of that coming up in the second half of the program. But for now, let's talk to Minister Garrido-Lowe. I did say it's a pleasure. Let's talk about because for Facing the Nation, this is the first time you're coming here. So for the Facing the Nation viewers, let's talk about specifically what are you responsible for within the sector that you function?
Okay, well, as minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, I'm responsible for women and children, youth and sports, and welfare matters.
Okay.
Minister Alicock and I, VP, we sat down in 2015 and decided our areas. So I decided to take this area.
This area, okay. I am happy. I am always interested in the women and children aspect of it because, as you know, it's not just the same. The fact is women and children are somewhat our most vulnerable group
of course
in society. In terms of women and children, especially in the hinterland communities, what is needed most at this time? What are we missing, especially those of us who live in Region 4?
Well, let me look at the average indigenous woman in any region there. The needs are the same as any other mother in Guyana. Because what you would like for your family is a good home.
Yes.
You would like 3 good meals a day for you and your children, especially your children. You would like to support your husband in whatever work he's doing. You would also like to add to, the family's income if you can. You would like to see your children educated, and become, somebody very respectable in society. So indigenous women also look at those things, and they also desire such things. But what I think is the fact is that they feel that these things are out of their reach most times. So it's like, okay, only this part of society this belongs to. We can only dream. We are not.
There's still that perception?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because you know why? Because although there have been and there are schools in every village and in one secondary school in every region, still there is. So you're getting education going there and so on. They write their CXC and so on. Some drop out, by the way, a lot. You still have to deal with unemployment. And unemployment in the hinterland is, let's say, more challenging than out here, because in there you have to actually look and search and assess everything there and see how you can come up with creative ideas that can work, that can employ people, that can bring money into the community and make them feel that independent, like they're that this dream of me or you it can happen to them too. This way of life.
Minister, while you're saying that, I'm thinking also this really and truly proves that there is a gap in terms of a gap between those living in the hinterland communities, especially women, and those living in Region 4 areas. We talk about, and I know government has done a lot thus far, and government is planning to do more in terms of improving infrastructure that would help to bridge the gap. What else can be done to have more of an integration? And it's not only about having hinterland communities in a sense come to this part of the country, but it's also about taking Region 4 to those communities and reminding people that look, this is a part of Guyana. We need to come out of the mindset where hinterland communities far away.
Yes.
What more needs to be done?
Well, the President always talks about this, about reducing the gap and that we're one nation and so on. Indeed, that is so. And Region 4, people on the coast need to learn more about the hinterland. It is not only to do mining, right? And to come out back and have the good life in Georgetown.
Yes.
It is about the beauty of the hinterland. The whole environment and the people and everything is so beautiful in there. The fertile soil. It's about, hinterland is about, let's say, if you need to invest there, you can really invest though, but more in the agricultural and ecotourism sector. Fertile soil, first of all, but then again, even if, let's say, you have a fruit farm, for instance, to compete with selling fruits out here, it doesn't make sense. So what will you do? So value added would be the best thing there. Produce, put down small industries in there, small factories in there, and start producing. For instance, in July 8th in Paramakatoy, we're going to launch the first of its kind sun-dried tomato facility. And this is a whole vision, not only for Paramakatoy, but for the sub-region, the Pacaraima sub-region, because farmers will be planting organic tomatoes without using fertilizer and all those things you spray it with for the caterpillar and so on. So, but we can't ever think about bringing it down to Georgetown. First of all, it couldn't stand the terrain.
The terrain.
And then the freight on the plane is too high. So we got together with IASD and we have built a dryer there, a solar dryer that will extract the water from the tomato, and then only the powder will be shipped to Georgetown to be processed into tomato paste. And tomato paste, even the poorest home,
We
the
all
single
use it,
parent,
so-
you buy a tomato paste.
Indeed.
So that will be processed in Georgia.
And then of course the money go back to
and then
I'm very interested in this, and this is a bit fascinating. Have you been able to, if not yourself, because I know it's an entire team, but as a country, have we been able to maybe use the best practices of other countries who would have probably got involved in this sort of operation to see how it has benefited them and ways in which we can probably capitalize on those benefits?
Well, I haven't traveled
we haven't,
but Dr. Suresh, who is his team is a technical team, and Nari, who is involved with getting the seedlings for us.
Okay.
They are well learned and versed in
that.
Yes. So by our side, we have masters of their trade.
Okay.
And so on.
It's interesting.
And added to that, the tomato farmers, the Parmakatoi residents, are so excited. They have planted already. The tomatoes are high. They now have stakes on it. Last time I visited was last week. They're high like this, and the stakes, they're fetching stakes, and they're even peeling the stakes, the skin off the steak, so the steak can look so neat, and they're tying a little red ribbon on it.
So it's about presentation too, because we've had this discussion so many times. We talk about the fact that we have so many very good natural resources in Guyana, and we sometimes don't know how to use it, and people argue that maybe it's in the packaging. It's in the packaging and presentation. So I'm listening to you now, and I'm assuming that indeed will attract persons.
Well, when I first became minister in 2015, I called up IST and NARI, because I know the Hinterland. I grew up in the Hinterland, and I know what the Hinterland has going for them is good soil, agriculture, and ecotourism. So that's how we have to look at it. How can we create jobs around, other than mining, of course, and things like that? How can we create jobs around these two major Guyana, not only topics, but products?
The products.
So that's how we had to tackle it through value added. And that is where the scientific end came up. And ISD does a great job, and they're excited and dedicated staff who have never gone to the Hinterland before are now spending a whole month and all they just to ensure that things go right.
Well, exactly. That's what we're talking about. Not only bringing the Hinterland this side, but taking this side to the Hinterland.
And the people have hope now. They have hope, because this is something, this thing was started during an attempt, something like this was done in the 70s, I think, during President Forbes' Burnham time. And because he also saw and wanted to, make use of the fertile soil and so on. But I think what went wrong there is the some different things. I have to get it straight. But I don't think value added was
a part of it. Well, the
but
good thing is
they
that
did produce, Right.
But the good thing is that we can,
so this is a second attempt.
And so on. I want to talk about something that's not so pleasant, that could possibly affect this sort of farming value added operation, and also can affect specifically what you focus on, of course, women and children. But before I do that, viewers, if you're now tuning in, this is Facing the Nation. Today I am having a conversation with, as you would remember, more than a month ago I promised her, but today I'm having that conversation with Minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, the Honorable Valarie Garrido-Lowe. Of course, those of you who've missed the conversation so far, as you know, all our conversations are loaded to YouTube and Facebook before the end of the day. Minister Garrido-Lowe, you were very busy in the last 2 months or so, especially in those hinterland communities, and I would want to link what happened to how that can affect this operation that you're talking about, and that has to do with flooding.
Okay.
Not only flooding, any other possible natural disaster. What are some of the things that government at this point can possibly do or begin to do we can't stop natural disasters, but what can you begin to do to reduce the amount of damage that these communities see, especially after a flood? Because we saw some horrible things recently in the last month or so, and I know you were on the ground constantly and you were able to assess the situation and so on. What can be done, or what are we beginning to prepare to do?
Well, let me just zero it back to the Paramakatoy Sun Dried. That one is on the mountain.
On the mountain, okay.
So flood really can't
affect.
reach there. Maybe a little drought, so we have to get fetch water. But we have tanks there, and they're working now on a mountain gravity feed from the mountain, along with GWI, the villagers and GWI, so that the whole village can soon get water.
Well, that is great.
And
I'm happy that you
yeah, so the tomato facility,
that will be protected.
Yes.
Okay.
So in the meantime, we have tanks though and stuff like that can feed from another reservoir, which is good.
And of course, this
more.
Is in the event of a drought.
Yes. But with regards to the natural disasters that I witnessed recently, in Chinapao, for instance, what happened? The roads became creeks. So we were actually driving on the school children road, you know, that they come to school. So you're driving a motorboat now because they turn a creek. But what I advise them is that they have to move to higher ground. Chinapao, for instance, I saw the cutlass mark on the tree where they chopped the highest this year, the flood went. But in 2004, they had a flood too, which was
higher?
Yes, about here on the same tree. They chopped it and they leave the mark there, so it was higher. So I told them that it doesn't make sense to go right back and build right at the corner of the river when you know you have experienced flooding already, and this is climate change now, and we can't stop that. We have to protect ourselves. So they have to go to higher ground. As a village, the Tushawan councillors, and with us, with Ministry of Communities, with the government as a whole, we can encourage them
to build higher.
So that's the thing with Chinapao. With regards to Waipa, Sandhill, and Kaiparpai, it's the same thing. Those who were flooded, they were at the side of the river. But at the same time, that water raised about 30 feet, 30 feet. So those who were in higher ground, when it came up to 30 feet, they were, let's say, some community centers got a little bit of flood, but not much.
Okay.
But so those who were on higher ground,
but
in Kaibarpa, you had 21 houses were washed away. So I spoke to them and I told them that we have to identify a location to build a new housing scheme, and let us stop building 1 hour away, 2 hours away, and those distances from each other. Because if we do that, we cannot access the opportunities that our government will be giving to them, which is electricity, internet facility, potable water, and all those things. Now, if we have a housing scheme, I mean, it doesn't have to be near like Georgetown, but at least, every two lots, and so on.
They'll be able to, they'll be serviced.
The services that our government planned to give to them, because it's opportunities, from the coast, just like the coast, they will have. We have promised them that, and we have started to do that. But we have to ensure that we create the right environment to receive these things.
What sort of feedback have you been, because of course those floods occurred some time ago, what sort of feedback have you been getting from them in terms of their willingness to want to relocate, and how much on board are they?
Well, actually I have gotten a list that we have to work on. They told me, plain Minister, I'm willing to rebuild my home, And as a community, we have to talk about it, but they will work on cutting wood and everything. All they need is assistance with power saw, fuel, generator, and a few zinc sheets because they're gone floating down the river and stuff like that. So they need help. So
Okay. And you've begun to...
yeah, we will be assisting them. When I was there, we gave them hampers and so on, and they were staying in tents next to their families on higher ground and so on, sometimes 14 in one tent and things like that. But the hammocks just slung. I slept in one like that too because I had to be with them. I had to reach there. Mm-hmm. So in order to reach there, I had to go through what I had to go through in the night and the day. At one time, we couldn't cross the rapids because it was so dangerous then.
Okay.
We had to offload everything, fetch it like for half a mile, run till the boatman and the driver travel up the rapids alone in the empty boat, but themselves, and they pick us up while everybody fetch one bag or the other till to the other landing. So a lot of they have prospects for development.
Okay.
In ecotourism, because even while I was there, and the disaster and the hurt, the confusion and everything, I could have seen, like for instance, Sand Hill is when you look around, it's so beautiful, and the rapids are there. Although they're dangerous, we do have a sport in kayaking that can encourage international kayaking.
Okay.
As a professional sport or even a leisure sport in Guyana. So I see an income there, although it is dangerous.
It is dangerous,
yeah.
All right. This now takes me to one of the other things I'd like to talk to you about is in terms of how you've been able to utilize the budget for this year given to the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, because I'm assuming with this sort of disaster it would have somewhat placed an extra strain on a budget that you did not necessarily cater for. But even that aside, how have you been able to utilize the budget thus far? Because we're past half the year.
Yes.
Are we past? No, we're right there.
Yes, we're at half the year, and to be honest, we're reflecting a little below half, but with the launching of Haze, which is happening in this month. Well, this afternoon I have to go back to a huge meeting with all the facilitators raring to go in the hinterland. You will see some big chunks coming out every month, and that is because Haze is most of the budget, by the way.
Okay.
It's 997 million. That is catering for 2,000 youths in 100 villages, not the ones last year.
This is a different...
Yeah, because it's 215 villages. Last year we took 212, so we're taking the others now. And they were patiently waiting whole year. So we have this launching now, and that will start eating away at the money because the youths will be getting 30,000 per month to assist them while they study, because it's a 6 months classroom and 6 months practical. And you have 2 facilitators per village, and then you have the monitors. So Haze has taken up a big chunk of the budget, and that will be reflected very soon.
Okay. For those who, because a lot, again, viewers, for those of you who've been paying attention and following and so on, the minister is always out there talking about the Haze project and so on. But for those of you who might have missed it, and Minister, remind the public what the Haze project is all about, who and how many will benefit and if it is an ongoing project too.
Well, the Haze project is, I call it a program, but it's a project. It's about building capacity in the youth of the hinterland. Okay. Because many of them are bright. They started high school and they dropped out at maybe grade 9 and so on. But before they took CXC, Some of them wrote CXC and they did badly. So they're there now, nothing much to do, hopeless. And before they go into lots of drugs and alcohol and so on, we decided that, they need jobs. They need jobs. But as a government, we can't give a job to each person who needs a job. But we can build your capacity and create the environment for you to, build, let's say, establish your own business, for instance. Now, the Hinterland youth, they need skills. When a tractor is broken down or a truck is broken down, it would decorate the savannah or the mountain for a year and it cannot be fixed because there's no mechanic.
The skills are not
A mechanic has to be flown into that particular village, and if they can, nobody wants to go and things like that. There it is. So the necessary skills for community building are needed. Mechanics, auto and electrical, garment construction, carpentry and joinery, masonry, electrical installation, nutrition, food and nutrition, and all those things are needed. So we're equipping them with the necessary skills that they need to build their community, to earn for themselves, even if they, as mankind likes to walk. So even if they don't want to stay in their village after a time and they want to go to another village or they want to go to Georgetown or they even want to go to Brazil, they will have a skill. They will have a skill to earn. So they would, they wouldn't be taken advantage of, let's say, trafficking in person and so on, because when you don't have a skill, that somebody comes and tell you, okay, you will work for so much in the back dam, you're ready to go because you don't know nothing else, and this is an offer out of heaven, you think, But when you have a skill and you can earn, nobody can fool you so easily. So that is with the Hinterland.
Okay, all right, great. It certainly is.
No, but before people say job, I want a job. Well, what can you do? What skills do you have?
Yes.
So
tell me what can you do, right? And if you don't have a skill, how do you expect?
When we first launched it, let's say in Waweta, I was there. So I said, okay, are you ready to work? Are you ready for employment? They say, yes, Minister. So I said, if somebody want to employ you tomorrow, are you ready to work? Yes, Minister. I said, okay, I was 15 minutes late for this meeting. My vehicle broke down. Could I have called any of you to go and fix my vehicle? They didn't answer.
So that actually happened?
Some look down, some look. You see, they get away with the idea that jobs, they need jobs, so you got to give them jobs. But they forget that you have to be skilled. You have to have a skill before you can be employed. You got to be really fortunate to be employed without a skill. Right? But that luck is not available to all. So that is why we're building capacity in skills training, remedial English language and math, ecotourism, cookery, IT, and all those things. So when we finish with a Hinterland youth, well-rounded, leadership skills, everything. You have public speaking in it. So right now, I would say from the first program, which ended in May, we have over 80% success rate. And for a new program and a huge one, I am pleased.
Okay.
I never knew that they would have grasped the opportunity. I was hoping they would grasp the opportunity given to them, but they have grasped it.
They have grasped. So far, they haven't disappointed you.
They haven't. Of course, you got, the 20% or the 15%. But
you would have to. They would either fall through the cracks. Unfortunately, it's a reality, or you would have to work extra hard to get them up to scratch.
So this first year has given us the experience and the, let's say, the mission to really do better again. So and the monitors are looking at the ones, although we're going into this new one, they're still there to encourage the old ones, to give them advice.
So that they, in a sense, fall
right.
back. Understood.
Because remember, it's a new thing. And while they're excited about their business now, they have several businesses anyway. Butcher shop, grocery store,
and
fuel
this
depot.
Came from you two were involved in this.
and I have seen many, but I have not seen many. But the rest of the staff, they have been going out monitoring.
Okay.
While paying them, they're monitoring where is your business. And the DPS told me one time, she said, Minister, oh, my skin grew when I saw the girls' business. They didn't expect this kind of reaction from
and
the
for
program.
them to grow so quickly, because I'm sitting here, I'm actually surprised that you're telling me that young people have been able to create their own businesses from this thus far. It's moving quickly.
You have one got sheep, the other one plant watermelons, they got big farms. They're going into different businesses, challenging, and it's really exciting, and all we have to do is encourage them, advise them, to that this thing is you growing into the person that that you are supposed to be.
Exactly. Minister and viewers, of course, I have to begin, but not quite, not yet. I'm not done with the ministers yet. I have to begin to wrap up my conversation with her to let her get back to her regular scheduled day. One of the things you just mentioned is the fact that what Hayes will also do is to prevent, especially our young women, from being so vulnerable that they become victims of trafficking.
That is right.
And I'm really happy that you talked about that, because given the fact that you are not partially responsible for, that is your area, for women and children.
Youth and sports.
Guyana has, youth and sports also. Guyana has been, and viewers, I'm reading this from a Ministry of the Presidency release, and it's been widely circulated, of course. Guyana has been reclassified to a tier 1 country in the United States Department of State's 2017 Trafficking in Persons report, which was released recently. Now, this has always been a big topic for us, as you know, viewers, and we had some controversy about it, but the idea was for Guyana to get the department to recognize our efforts and so on. This aside, Minister, are there plans, especially from your ministry, from your office and so on, to do more? Because you can never achieve too much. To do more to protect, especially our young women and children living in the hinterland communities, to protect them from becoming victims of trafficking in persons.
Yes, we have a welfare department, and this year we have gotten $5 million to carry out our work. So they will, on the 8th, they will start rolling out the program, where villages will train in clusters. We did this in 2015 already. So this is the second time we're doing that. In clusters, you call out either the counselor and another influential person in the village. From each village, 2 persons, and you train them in the area about sexual offenses and violence and interpersonal violence, domestic violence, the drug and alcohol abuse. So these are the topics, including trafficking in persons and the labor law, because many of our people,
they might not be trafficked, but they're violated.
Right, so that is it. So they will know when they're being employed. Many of them come to us, they're not paid. People don't want to pay them, and they work so long. So we in the program, we tell them what to look out for, how when people approach you, what questions to ask and what answers they should look out for. So we're doing our bit in educating our people and advising them to let them know that these things are not good, these things they should do, and so on. And they, in turn, will go back to their villages and hold seminars of their own. So that is...
well, we were happy that you have that covered. And finally, before I let you go, Minister, what's that you can possibly be revealed? Because viewers, sometimes, government at times work on things that it's best for our own good, that we not necessarily know about everything. But what's coming up next? What big is coming up next for your ministry, for your office, in terms of aiding and providing that good life for all Guyanese? What's the next big thing that you can possibly give us a hint on before we let you go today?
Well, the ministry and my secretariat, I'm mostly concerned because whether we have a big school, a well-equipped hospital or health center, or whatever, it breaks down right back to bread and butter issues.
Okay.
How can I earn to support my family? You know that. Because we have everything around.
That's what we live.
Yes, but we need money to support our family. So while doing everything else, my main focus is to create employment, and therefore it needs thinking, because it's the hinterland we're dealing with. So you need extra thinking, you need innovative ideas, and you need courage.
Yes.
You need courage, because people would say, tomato? Who wants to grow tomato?
Exactly.
And things like that.
And they kind of, it kills your self-esteem and confidence to in a sense.
Minister and her this and that, But then again, through the mocking, through the everything that is negative, you got to keep your focus, because the vision is one that is workable. It can be achieved. It needs a lot of courage, a lot of collaborative effort, which I am so happy that we are getting, because ISD, NARI, Ministry of Social Protection, they trained over 30 agro-food processors the other day in Paramagatoy.
Okay.
Miss Pearl Gift, she went and formed the Farmers Co-op. So we have different...
And this is new.
This is new. So we have everybody getting involved in this thing, and we're all working together. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Okay.
So, and the people feel that, they see that, and they're on board. So far now, we have like 40 farmers, 24 on the hilltop next to the facility, and most are women. When I said,
that's good. That's
when I
good.
said, okay, since we have enough land on the hilltop, we can allow some farmers there, but I'm giving first preference to women here. Minister, what about us? What about the men? Why the women? So I said, because it's near to homes,
Yes.
They can easily come down from the hilltop, from the mountaintop, and go and cook your food by the time you come home from your from the big farm in the valley.
Yes.
Yeah, you
they
can
kind
have
of want to hog everything.
Yes, your clothes can be washed and everything will be on time. You don't have to worry.
And yes, I'm sure that convinced them.
They weren't too pleased, but they accepted it.
Yeah, and it's going to grow on them. It comes back to, and I keep telling people, I'm still calling this administration a new administration. It comes back to culture change and allowing things to grow on you. Even myself, sometimes I have to check myself and say, like, look, you want to change, this is going to take time, and so on. So, it comes back to having patience in the vision.
And talking about culture, at Paramagatoy there's a new culture. Every afternoon you would see women, and they bring their husbands walking up. You're on a mountaintop, but you're walking up the hill on the mountaintop now. So to the facility, they're going there to water their plants as a family. Sometimes they're their child and so on. So every afternoon now, that this never used to happen. A group of 20, 15, however they come in the afternoon. They walk up there, they gaff, they talk, they all water their plants, they pick at them. I think they even pray over them.
Wow.
And then they would walk down back the hill. So you have some traffic now that was never there. So a new culture is developing also.
Interesting culture. And the viewers know me by now. They know stories like these fascinate me, and I'm probably going to ask the minister to sponsor me and take me to those communities. Minister, it certainly has been a pleasure. Please come back to Facing the Nation very soon. We'll be calling on you again.
Thank you. you.
And the minister can tell you how many weeks I called, and I was very persistent. I'm proud of that sort of persistence, mind you. But thank you so very much. Of course, viewers, if you're now tuning in, you missed a really fabulous conversation with the minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs. However, those of you who follow me on social media, before the end of the day, this conversation will be loaded to YouTube and also to my Facebook page.